Yeah, that was chaos as soon as the shooting started, and it was chaos from there on. I mean, nobody knew what to do. Uh, people had gotten killed. People. There were four students that were killed. There was one that was permanently injured, and there was 7 or 8, I think, that were shot and recovered from their wounds. But and of the four that were killed, I think 3 of them were part of the protest, and that doesn't depict whether they were radicals, protesters, or they were like me standing there watching. So but they were there in the group. There was one that was simply walking from class back to her dorm to have lunch, and was totally just wanted to get out of there. And most of the shooting was toward the dorm. So everybody kind of dispersed. There was a group of college professors that were actively trying to get the guard out of there. People went back to their dorms, and just the magnitude of what you had just seen, was hard to digest, no matter what your worldview was. I mean, there's a group of people who were anti-war, and their immediate conclusion was it was a National Guard, it was a conspiracy of the authorities, and they were against the students, and they did it. And so this was a confirmation of their worldview. There's another group of people whose worldview was that they might not have understood the war, but they weren't vocally against the war, who would have seen it a different way. Which was to me, that was one of the lessons learned out of there, is we all stood and watched the same thing. And even immediately after that, there were different conclusions forming as to what caused it. And that, kind of helped form some of my life views on how decisions are reached in that. And I look back on that whole process, and I see a number of decisions that were made by various people along the way that, had they not been made, there would not have been 4 dead students. The first one was, as I said, the night of the first night in downtown Kent. If that mayor hadn't emptied those bars and declared a state of emergency, he never, probably the chain of events never would have moved toward a confrontation between the students and the National Guard. You had a governor who made a very bad decision about allowing the National Guard to show up on campus. Oh, I guess the next bad decision was the decision to cancel the rally. You had a rally, let the kids protest. I think the decision by the students, whomever they were, to burn the ROTC building. If you'd never burned the ROTC building, you probably wouldn't have had the pressure to cancel the rally, and you probably wouldn't have had the confrontation. And finally, the confrontation itself. Don't throw things at somebody that's got a loaded gun. I mean, it's like the decision to allow those students, the National Guard, to go into a crowd control, a riot situation for which they weren't even trained, with loaded rifles, was another monumentally stupid decision. So you had a series of very bad decisions that ended up with a very, very bad outcome. So.